My manager looked me dead in the eye and said, "I don't want you thinking. I want you following the rules. Exactly as written. No exceptions." So I smiled, and said, "Okay. You got it?" 3 weeks later, the company lost $50,000. And when corporate asked what happened, my manager couldn't say a single word, because every single thing I did was exactly what he told me to do. This is the story of how doing exactly what I was told turned into the most expensive lesson my manager ever learned. Stick around, because the ending is going to make your day. Let me give you some background. I worked as a logistics coordinator at a mid-sized distribution company. My job was simple. Manage incoming shipments, coordinate with drivers, and make sure orders went out on time. Now here's the thing about my job. It ran on unwritten rules. The official manual said one thing, but everyone who'd worked there long enough knew the manual was outdated. There were shortcuts. Common sense fixes. Things every experienced employee just did, because doing it by the book would slow everything down to a crawl. I'd been doing this job for almost 4 years. I knew every shortcut. I knew which rules were just there for legal cover, and which ones actually mattered. Then we got a new regional manager. Let's call him Greg. Greg was the kind of guy who'd read a textbook on management but never actually worked the floor. Confident. Loud. Always talking about tightening operations and maximizing efficiency. Buzzwords with zero substance behind them. And Greg had a problem with me. See, I was fast. Efficient. I got shipments out the door quicker than anyone else on the team, because I knew which steps in the official process were redundant and which ones I could streamline. But Greg didn't like that. He thought I was cutting corners. He didn't care that my numbers were the best on the team. He cared that I wasn't doing things the right way, meaning the slow, bureaucratic, by-the-book way. So one Monday morning, Greg called me into his office. "I've been reviewing your process," he said. "And I don't like it. You're skipping steps." I tried to explain. Those steps were outdated. They didn't apply anymore. Following them word for word would slow down every single shipment by hours. But Greg wasn't interested in hearing it. He said the words that would change everything. "I don't want you thinking. I want you following the rules. Exactly as written. No exceptions. From now on, you follow the manual to the letter, or I'll find someone who will." I paused for a second. Looked at him. And smiled. "Okay, Greg. You got it? The manual. To the letter." He had no idea what he just signed up for. Here's where it gets good. The manual required 3 separate sign-offs before any shipment could leave the warehouse. A process everyone skipped because in practice, one sign-off covered it. I started requiring all 3. Every time. No exceptions. The manual said all packages over 50 pounds needed a manual weight verification, even though our scanners already did this automatically. I started physically weighing every single package by hand. The manual required a 15-minute cooling period between loading dock assignments. A rule from probably a decade ago that nobody remembered the reason for. I enforced it. To the minute. The manual said any shipment discrepancy, no matter how small, required a full written incident report before processing could continue. Normally we'd just fix small errors on the spot. Now, every tiny mismatch meant stopping everything and filling out paperwork. By Wednesday, shipments that used to take 20 minutes were taking 2 hours. By Friday, we had a backlog of 40 unprocessed orders. and Greg started getting calls. Angry calls. From clients. From corporate. He stormed up to me. "What is going on? Why is everything backed up?" I looked at him calmly and said, "I'm following the manual. Exactly as written. Like you told me to." He opened his mouth to argue, and then stopped. Because he remembered. He'd said it himself, in front of 2 witnesses. Greg tried to backpedal. "I didn't mean follow every rule, I meant." I cut him off, politely. "You said no exceptions. I want to make sure I'm doing my job correctly. I don't want to get in trouble for cutting corners again." He couldn't say anything. Because reversing himself now would mean admitting, in writing, that the real process everyone secretly used was actually faster and better than the official one. Which would expose that he didn't understand the operation he was supposedly managing. So the backlog kept growing. By the following week, we'd missed delivery windows for 3 major clients. One of them was a contract worth, you guessed it, about $50,000 in penalty clauses for late delivery. Corporate got involved. They wanted answers. Why was the warehouse suddenly operating at a quarter of its normal speed? Greg tried to explain it away as short staffing, but the timeline didn't add up. Someone from corporate actually pulled the processing logs and saw exactly when the slowdown started. Right when Greg told me to follow the manual exactly. Here's the part I didn't expect. Corporate called me into a meeting. Not to punish me. To ask me what happened. So I told them. Calmly. Professionally. I explained that I used to streamline the process using practical shortcuts that saved hours every day. Shortcuts that didn't compromise safety or accuracy. But my manager had explicitly instructed me, in front of witnesses, to stop using judgment and follow the official manual word for word. I even showed them, politely, that my old numbers, before Greg's order, were the best in the company. Corporate looked at Greg. Greg had nothing to say. A week later, Greg was reassigned to a different location. A quiet demotion dressed up as a lateral move. And me, I went back to doing my job exactly the way I used to. Funny how that works. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just doing exactly what you're told, and stepping back to watch what happens. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe, because we've got way more stories like this coming. Workplace nightmares, boss karma, and the most satisfying malicious compliance stories you'll ever hear. Drop a comment. Have you ever followed the rules a little too well? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next one.